Hello, Dr. Lee, and hello to the audience. I'm now in Paris, and I'm very happy to be with you, at least virtually. Thanks to modern technology and information technology, we can be in touch even when our bodies are thousands of kilometers apart.
Yeah. It's great to see you again, Professor Harari. We used to see each other every year or so, but COVID kept us apart, and it's great to see you. I'm a big fan of all of your books, especially the new one, Nexus. I think the information has been the most important element in business and work and human lives today. I can certainly attest that all of my work is about dealing with information and people, but increasingly the information is all the strategy that we make as a company using data-driven decisions. We use information and technology to create our thoughts, to make decisions. Our products are bits of information distributed as applications or software, and we are paid using electronic means. So increasingly, the world is going digital and virtual, and what is transmitted is information. And I think Professor Harari eloquently in the book Nexus talks about the history of information. And then in the book, we clearly see the use of information has jumped in the digital age.
Well, humans control the world because we can cooperate better than any other animal. Individually, we are not much smarter or stronger than other animals. But whereas chimpanzees, for instance, can cooperate only in small groups, like 50 chimpanzees or 100 chimpanzees, humans can create these vast networks of cooperation between millions and even billions of people. This is the source of our power. And we do that by exchanging information. We don't know personally most of the other people in our country, in our corporation, in our business network. We stay in touch, we get connected, we cooperate through information. This is why information is so vital. And we don't really live in the reality. We don't react to the reality of the world. We react to our image of reality. We react to the information we have about the reality. This is why information is so crucial. And at this stage in history, we have invented the most powerful, the most important information technology in history, which is AI. The unique thing about AI is that AI is not just a tool in our hands, it is an agent, an active and autonomous agent that can make decisions by itself and can invent and create new ideas by itself. Previously in history, we invented many tools and many machines, but the power always remained in our hands, especially the power of information. If you think about the printing press, for instance, so the printing press allowed us to spread our information, our stories, our ideas, but the printing press never made any decision like which book to print, and the printing press could not write new books. It could not create information. It could only copy and spread our creations. AI is different. AI is able to make decisions by itself, and it is able to invent new ideas by itself. This is the characteristic of AI. This is what defines it. There is a lot of hype, a lot of confusion around AI. What is AI? How is it different from previous machines or computers? This is the difference. That if something cannot change by itself, cannot learn and invent new things, it is not an AI. It is just an old-fashioned machine. So we rule the world because we created these networks of information, but now we have created something that might take control of the networks of information from us. I'll just give one example before I give the flow to Dr. Lee for his thoughts. If you think about the role of editors, for instance, editors were some of the most important people in the world, whether editors of book publications or news agencies or newspapers, so much power. You decide, like, from the million things that happened yesterday in the world, the job of the editor is to decide which are the most important 10 things that will appear on the front page of the newspaper, or that will appear on the news broadcast in television. If you ask yourself, who are the most important editors today in the world, what are their names? They have no names because they are algorithms. They are AIs. The editors of the big social media platforms like YouTube or Twitter or TikTok, they are no longer human beings. They are AIs. So AI is beginning to take control of the information network from us.
And I agree with Professor Harari that AI will cause it to make another even bigger jump. My day-to-day work, I already use AI for most things that I do, and I think increasingly people are doing that. But many people think of AI as a chatbot or as a smart search engine, which it is today. But that is really just the first manifestation. We are already seeing examples of these give me an answer, dialogue with me, transforming to be my co-pilot, help me do tasks. And that will transition further into digital human workers. So taking over most or part or all of the work of some individuals. And that will then transition into near autopilot, where the human instructs, but the AI is free to create information, make decisions as agents. And then finally, autopilot will be agents that will, on the behalf of a company or a person, decide to do things that the person may not have instructed, but AI would view as something I know you want. In some sense, when TikTok sends a video, that's a very simple form of that. You didn't ask for that video, but it thinks you want it. But amplified that intelligence by a million times, that AI knows how you want to invest and invests on your behalf. AI knows your wife's birthday is coming up, buys the present. And these are the innocuous examples, and there are many that could lead to potentially some issues.
Do you think that we will soon see AIs making major decisions in the financial markets, like AI investors and AIs coming up with new investment strategies, even new financial devices?
Yes, that's already happened to some extent. A number of AI quantitative funds in both US and China and other countries are giving excellent returns. And these are basically AI decision makers that every day looks at all the trading data and news and decide what's the best stock I can buy. And then it buys and sells without human instruction. The only thing humans provided is here's all the data from which to make a decision and the goal, make me the most money subject to some risk tolerance. So that's already happening. And if we look at all the tasks humans do, probably the most quantitative task is that of investment, because virtually all the decisions comes from real-time information, and AI can read faster, can sort through possibilities, can make combination trades, and can buy and sell more quickly, and with more ability to access information. So when people read that some president said something and think of buying some stock, well, AI will have already done it well ahead of the human. But that's already happening.
So would it be like happened in other fields, narrow fields, like, in Go, in the game of Go? We already know that AI is far more intelligent and even far more creative than any human actor. Would something similar happen in a field like finance? And if it does, what does it mean to society and even to politics if basically humans and human governments lose control of the financial system? Maybe they can no longer understand the financial system, the major financial decisions. So you still have human presidents and human prime ministers and human bankers as officially the heads of the system, but they are no longer able to understand such an important part of the world, the financial system, and are no longer able to regulate it or to make decisions about it.
Yeah, I think that there's risk of that in almost every profession. Financial, I mentioned the speed and the breadth of the information is unmatchable by humans. There are some aspects, such as if you're a venture capitalist, you want to you want to rely on your instinct about judging the person on their micro expressions, etc., sincerity, etc., perhaps. And then with corporate reorganization and M&A, you have to understand personalities and read them more deeply. But really, other than the human interaction, all the information-based approaches, we cannot do better than AI. And another profession I often refer to, which is much harder for AI to do, but eventually we'll get there, is medicine. Because AI doctors will begin to be better than average doctors. And doctors will start to use them as a possible reference. And then AI keeps getting better. Then the doctor loses confidence, trusts more, becomes a rubber stamp, even though we place the doctor the responsibility and the consequences of malpractice is on the doctor. But when the doctor sees how fast AI is improving, at some point it's inevitable that human basically shame that it's so much less accurate than the doctor. Then the AI, then the doctor will just rubber stamp decisions and move towards AI making decisions, even though we started on a slippery slope where we said the doctor has to make all the decisions, but AI improves much faster and people will feel much less intelligent in comparison.
Yeah, we already see this slippery slope in the military. I've been watching very carefully the use of AI. In science fiction, in Hollywood, we were conditioned to expect that in war, AI will appear as killer robots, that the AIs will actually be the soldiers shooting and fighting. And this is still not happening. Instead, the AI is entering the military upstream from the soldiers in making the decisions, the critical decisions about what are the targets, what to bomb, what to shoot. And for the same reasons, that to select a military target, you need to analyze immense amounts of information very, very quickly. So AI has sped up by an orders of magnitude the process of selecting targets, but this of course creates a very, very big ethical dilemma. If an AI used by the military tells you that a certain building is the headquarters of a terrorist organization or the headquarters of an enemy unit, do you just believe the AI and bomb it? Or do you get humans to verify that this is indeed correct? Maybe the AI made a mistake. Maybe this is a civilian house. Maybe there is an enemy headquarters, but there are also civilians and they will get hurt. So what is your choice? Now, at present, I'm not sure. I talk with a lot of people. They tell different things. Some people say that the army is just bombing whatever the AI tells it to bomb. Other people say, no, it's not like this. We have very strict ethical standards. We first get human analysts to verify that this is a legitimate target. And maybe sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like that. But in this war, the AI is mainly on one side. But in a future war, maybe just in a year or two, once you have AIs on both sides, the space for making these ethical decisions will shrink because there is no time. If both sides have AIs choosing targets, and one side just believes the AI and goes ahead and bomb it, and the other side says, no, we have to verify with humans. Humans are very, very slow compared to the AI. By the time, maybe days, maybe hours, by the time the humans verified that the AI did not make a mistake, maybe the target moved. Maybe they already bomb us. So there will be increasing pressure on the military. Just do whatever the AI tells you to do.
Yeah, I think this idea of adding human in the loop to make it safe is generally not scalable. In many other problems, it's the same thing. Adding a human in the loop can make the process less efficient, can cause you in the financial markets to not make as much money or lose money, and in military, as the case you described. So I think the human tendency will say, let's just add a human in the loop, then we feel good. And initially people will do it. But at some point when it's competitive, I think it's going to be a game of chicken. Someone's going to say, well, it may be wrong to let AI decide, but if I lose the war, if I go bankrupt, that's even worse. So I'm going to remove that human. So I think we need other basically safety checks and guardrails.
Such as what? What could be the solution? I mean, again, if the easy solution of let's just keep humans in the loop, this is not possible in many situations, from finance to war, because of the element of speed. So what other guardrails are out there?
Well, sometimes the technology guardrail, the best guardrail is another technology. Like when electricity was being used, it electrocuted people, then people invented basically the circuit breaker. And when internet created viruses, when they connected to PC, antivirus software. This time is much, much harder, but I'd like to think that if we as technologists encourage more people to work on guardrail technology solutions, not just building smarter AI, one might emerge. And the other, of course, is regulations. But I think it's hard to regulate a technology that's not well known. And if to the extent we can look at both paths to do what we can with technology guardrails and to research it, to fund it, to encourage smart people to do it, but also not be afraid to apply regulation by leveraging what we already know. So the consequences of fraudulent trade, the consequences of deep fake, of consequences of manslaughter should be applied, whether there's an AI doing it or a human in it doing it. And arguably, they might even be stronger if a human used AI to do it at scale. But I would say regulation-wise, I personally would feel more comfortable to use existing laws and extend the AI rather than just applying the kinds of laws that are coming out. People are just guessing. Well, let's regulate large language models. Let's freeze development of AI technologies. Those things are kind of arbitrary, unproven, and very hard to enforce.
But the talk of regulation, especially we are talking just 2-3 days after Donald Trump was elected president of the US, on a ticket largely of deregulation, and he was strongly supported by Elon Musk. And I think that all fantasies that the United States would impose regulations on the development of AI, and all fantasies of some kind of global agreement between many governments on the regulation of AI now seems completely unrealistic. I mean, even before the election, it was very hard to see how the US and China and the European Union and Russia could together agree on a framework to regulate the most explosive technology of the 21st century. Now it seems almost impossible. So what are your views, from Beijing 2-3 days after the results of the US election on the AI arms race and the chances for any kind of global agreement or regulation?
Yeah, I think reaching an agreement on regulating technology in general is hard to reach agreement even within the country, not to mention between countries. So again, I would kind of fall back on saying, okay, if AI used by a human commits a certain crime or it needs to be fined for misdemeanor, then that must be extended. But I have a hard time thinking and being optimistic that a global accord can be reached. And I actually understand what you mean by the election, but I think it was very difficult. There are people who are talking about it, but I think the OpenAI struggle is a great example, right? Sam Altman is pro progress, pro AGI, pro speed, and Ilya and a number of other executives are pro safety. And I would say the company that's most likely to build a scary near AGI is probably OpenAI. Before, there was a checks and balances between the pro speed and the pro safety camps. Now that the pro safety people have left, OpenAI probably will run faster and may or may not, but hopefully not, be reckless in doing so. So we have a difficulty in checking these powers, and then we have a potentially accelerated market leader. So that's challenge.
It seems almost like a kind of evolutionary logic or evolutionary race that if you're more concerned about safety and you decide to, I will slow down, I will invest more in building guardrails instead of just moving as fast as possible towards AGI, then you are left behind. And if a competitor is just more ruthless and doesn't care at all about safety issues and guardrails, they just move ahead. And then so the race is between the ruthless.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you're asking about China. I'll tell you what we do at 01.ai. And I think a number of Chinese companies follow this direction because the Chinese AI companies have always been strong in execution, less on grandiose vision like AGI. And also Chinese companies raised a lot less money than the American companies. So there's no realistic hope to get more GPUs, go for scaling law, beat OpenAI. But it's more possible to follow OpenAI, come up with some micro innovations, and build super fast models that can be fitted into consumer and business applications. So I think the danger of a AGI run wild is lower in China, or at least behind the speed at which will happen in the US, not because of other reasons other than just practical Chinese mentality, building useful products, and not having as much money to get all those GPUs.
But one issue, of course, is that if indeed somebody anywhere in the world realizes the kind of fantasy or nightmare of AGI, it will impact the entire world. It's such a powerful technology, and because of that, it will become very soon a governmental issue. So governments of other countries, including China, they will just be incentivized to pour immense governmental resources to stay in the race or to win the race. And again, almost everybody I talk with, they agree that it's a bad idea for humans to create something more intelligent than us that we don't know how to control. It just sounds such a stupid idea. It's suicidal. At the same time, everybody says, or at least some people say, that we have to do it because if we don't do it, they do it, and then they control the world. So it's better if we do it first, and there is a chance that we will know how to constrain this thing. And, the big paradox of the whole situation is that they think they'll be able to trust their AIs, but they are not able to trust the other humans. So we have this very paradoxical situation when humans can't trust other humans, but they think they will be able to trust these super intelligent AIs, which are an alien intelligence, like an alien species. And again, they don't know how they will be able to control it or to trust it. It's kind of a wishful thinking that, okay, as we develop this AGI, we will find ways to control it. We will find, like again with the electricity example, that okay, people get electrocuted, so we devise some mechanical means to protect them. But they don't have the, when you ask them, okay, what will it be like? What kind of mechanism, what kind of technology do you have in mind that will be able to keep the super intelligent AIs aligned and under control? They don't know what to say. They just say, we'll find something. And this is extremely frightening. The other frightening thing is that, as a historian, I tend to think that the big danger with new technologies is not the end result, it is the way there. It's the way, not the destination. Because when a powerful new technology emerges, nobody knows how to integrate it into society and politics and how to use it wisely. And people experiment, and some experiments go terribly, terribly wrong. If we look at the Industrial Revolution, like when I go to Silicon Valley and I talk with people there about AI, they tell me, look, when the Industrial Revolution started and people invented the steam engine and trains and telegraphs, many people were afraid that this will cause immense damage. But look, it created a much better world. The world in the early 21st century, people have much better lives than in the early 19th century. And this is true. If you look just at the starting point and at the end point, you see a straight line going up. But in reality, in history, there was no straight line. There was a roller coaster with terrible disasters. Because when the first countries industrialized in the 19th century, first Britain and then France and US and Japan, they thought that the only way to build an industrial society was to build an empire. They thought that to build an industrial society, you need control of raw materials and markets, so you must have an empire. And every industrial nation, from tiny Belgium to Japan to Russia, they went to build an empire with terrible consequences for hundreds of millions of people around the world. Then another idea people had, that the only way to build an industrial society was build a totalitarian regime, like Nazi Germany. Because the argument, again, it was a logical argument, they thought, the explosive power of industry, so much creative and destructive power, can only be managed by a totalitarian regime that controls all aspects of life. And this led to the horrors of Nazi Germany, to the world wars. Now we look back and we know this was a mistake. There are better ways to build an industrial society. But the actual progress of history was this roller coaster and not a straight line. Now with AI, we don't know how to build an AI society. We have no model in history. Now, even if ultimately we can find ways to make the AI benefit humanity, my fear is the way there. That people will again experiment, maybe with empires, maybe with new totalitarian regimes, that even if in the end a solution will be found, on the way, hundreds of millions of people could suffer terribly.